Okay, clip 289. Hope you're all okay. Function notation 2. Okay, so in 288 we did substituting numbers. This time we're going to substitute letters instead of numbers. So that's the type we've done, which is put in a number in. We're now going to look at questions like this where we're changing it from f of x, we're now replacing with something else that's got letters involved. Okay, so this is your algebra skills rather than just your substitution and number skills. A reminder that there's two ways you can see these, f of x or g of x, or you might see it look like this, which means mapped. Okay, but they mean the same thing. So in the first one, write an expression for f of t. So I've got given f of x is 5x minus 2. So basically I'm replacing the x with a t. So all I'm going to do is swap the x for a t. Just like we did before in clip 288, we might replace 2 with the x. So this would be 5 times t minus 2. Well, 5 times t is 5t minus 2. And the important thing with this is you're always going to get an expression for your answer. You're not going to get one whole number or a single answer. That will be evaluate. It will say write an expression, or it might say simplify. Okay, right, so if you've got the hang of this, next one. Write an expression for f of 3t. Again, we've changed the x for 3t. So all we're going to do is swap this x for 3t. So f of 3t is 5 times, swap the x for 3t plus 7. So what's that? 5 times 3t is 15t, and then plus 7 on the end. Again, you can't combine this because they're different terms. Next one. So a little bit harder this time, we're going to swap x for t minus 3. So write it out carefully. 5 minus 2 times, because you're swapping the x, with t minus 3. T minus 3. Now you just need to be able to simplify this down. So I'm going to do the second part first, because that's got the bracket in it. And remember, if it's algebra, then we can expand brackets. So we're going to do minus 2 times t and minus 2 times minus 3. Leave the 5. Minus 2 times t is minus 2t. Minus 2 times minus 3 is plus 6. And then can you simplify this down? Well, I'm going to leave the minus 2t there. And I've got a 5 and I've got plus 6. Well, that's 11. So I've got 11 minus 2t. There's your answer as an expression. Number 4. Just gets more tricky with powers in it. So you've got f of x is equal to this. Write an expression for f of 2p. So again, I'm just substituting 2p into where the x is, but be careful, here there's two lots of the same thing. So this is a typical style of GCSE question that may be around about halfway in a higher paper. So I've got to substitute in 2p for where the x is. So write it all out. 3 times 2p squared plus 2 times 2p minus 7. Right, what's 2p squared? Let's just go over here. 2p all squared is the same as 2p times 2p. Well, that will be 4p squared. So I've got 3 times 4p squared, which is 12p squared. Plus 2 times 2p is 4p, and then a minus 7 on the end. Now, can you simplify any of those? In other words, have you got any that are like terms? Well, this one's a p squared term. This one's just a p term. And this one is just a number. So none of those are the same, which means that that is the final answer. Right, using the same expression, I'm going to do two more, one with negative and one with a power. So the first one, 3 times minus 2p all squared plus 2 times minus 2p minus 7. So let's go in order. Minus 2p squared. Again, let's just go over here. Minus 2p all squared means minus 2p times minus 2p, which is minus 2 times minus 2 is 4. P times p is p squared. So you get the same one as this one. Times by 3 is still 12p squared. Plus 2 times minus 2p is minus 4p, and then minus 7. Now once again, I've got a p squared term, I've got a p term, but I've got an extra sign here, and I've also got a number on the end. Okay, so what will be the answer? Well, all I need to do is take out this sign here, one of these signs, 12p squared. Now, what's it going to be? Plus and a minus together? You should know that should be minus 4p minus 7. So the only difference between this one and this one, the fact that's 2p, that's minus 2p, is the middle term changes from a plus to a minus. Right, final one. 3 times p squared squared plus 2 times p squared minus 7. So take your time like I've just done in substituting them in. Right, this one, 3. What's p squared to the power of 2? Well, what happens is, using the rule for powers, we've got p squared in brackets squared. That means p squared times p squared, because it's times itself. Well, what would you do? You could times those quickly. Or you can do this and add together, which is p to the power of 4. Plus 2 times p squared is 2p squared, and then minus 7. Now again, just check through if you can collect like terms. That's a term, because it's got power of 4. This is a different term, it's got a square on it. And this is just a number. So that is the final answer. You can't do anything else with that.